Spanning from 1939 to 1945, World War II was a 6-year tragedy that shook the world like never before. Nearly 80 years on, how can you possibly convey the horrors of the events that unfolded to modern generations? Sure, you could put stark and nightmare-inducing World War II footage with Subway Surfer and soap-cutting clips on TikTok, but it is simply impossible to convey the reality of what actually happened. Countless screenwriters have tried to convey the gravity produced by the events, but I feel like it's just not real enough. This year alone, we have had one of my all-time favourite movie releases, Oppenheimer. If you haven't seen the movie, in a nutshell, it talks about the life of a man who created the atomic bomb, the weapon that is responsible for the death of hundreds of thousands of Japanese. And even though the movie is referred to as largely accurate, I always feel a sense of fabrication with big box office movies like these, with how things are being ever so slightly changed to appeal to the masses. So, what hit the spot for me? What did I consume that broke my rose-tinted glasses and changed my way that I viewed the world? Well, it was... To put it simply, I regard this as not only my favourite comic book of all time, but the most important piece of World War II media there is. Now, when people hear the word comic book, the majority will think of the
help me, Superman, I am falling.
No worries, young lady. Have no fear, for I am the Man of Steel.
or the
Wow, thanks Spider-Man for saving me from being hit by a car because my mom dropped me as a kid.
kind of books. But Mouse pushes the genre to what it's absolutely capable of. Sure, you have your Dark Knight Returns and your The Last Ronins that put a more dark and grim spin on the comics, but what author Art Spiegelman did cannot be expressed with just words alone. Being published in 2 parts, Mouse 1, My Father Bleeds History, and Mouse 2, And Here My Troubles Began, Art encapsulates his father's time during the Second World War, where he was a Jew suffering under the harsh wrath of the Nazis. But it is told in such a captivating manner that I don't know how to describe it. The way he draws himself and his father as mice when the Nazis were cats really showed how the Jewish community were thought to be the inferior race of the time. Now, if you're thinking to yourself,
Welp, isn't that just a tad bit racist?
to you, sir, I tip my fedora back to you, as this was one of the reasons why this book has been banned over the years. But Art did this on purpose to let the readers project themselves onto the characters and to highlight the racism of the times. This is where the story differs from a traditional World War II media piece. Art actually taped the conversations with his dad and wrote the stories exactly how his dad said them to a T. It shows what it was like in the concentration camps. It shows what a Jewish person had to do to survive. It showed the effects that was left on people for years to come after the war. This actually feels real, and to be able to hold one of the greatest true stories of all time in my hand and appreciate every single brushstroke, hand-drawn text box, every single detail within this black and white masterpiece without needing to pause, rewind, or throw popcorn at the screen, asking them to rewind the goddamn movie. It's amazing, and it's right there in your hand. In the book, Art shows how he's a struggling comic book artist and how he's trying to make a name for himself by creating something big, which leads him to convince his father to tell him about his time in the Second World War so he can try to make it into a graphic novel. You can really see how Art just feels like a complete and utter failure. And, well, anyone can see why. I mean, his father survived multiple concentration camps and his son can't even write a successful comic book. I mean, come on, like, who wouldn't feel like a failure here? But after publishing Mouse 1, Art definitely did not feel like a failure. Selling tens of thousands of copies, I mean, he was sure to go down in the names of great comic book artists and writers like Kirby, Mira, Oda, and McFarlane. But then, it all changed. Mouse 2 has what I think is the greatest comic book page of all time. Time flies. Vladek died of congestive heart failure on August 18, 1982. Francoise and I stayed with him in the Catskills back in August 1979. Vladek started working as a tin man in Auschwitz in the spring of 1944. I started working on this page at the very end of February 1987. In May 1987, Francoise and I are expecting a baby. Between May 16, 1944 and May 24, 1944, over 100,000 Hungarian Jews were gassed in Auschwitz. In September 1986, after 8 years of work, the first part of Mouse was published. It was a critical and commercial success. At least 15 foreign editions are coming out. I've gotten 4 serious offers to turn my book into a TV special or a movie. I don't wanna. In May 1968, my mother killed herself. She left no note. Lately, I've been feeling depressed. It shows that with all this greatness that he has, all the money, all the fame, it really is nothing to him. I'll try to keep this book spoiler free as much as I can for the rest of this video. But with me now knowing that Artie's dad, Vladek, has died, I could feel a piece of his soul being torn out with every page being turned. And as I read the rest of the story, I couldn't help but feel the sense of dread whenever I saw Vladek's animal face. I grew so accustomed to it that I could recognize it as easy as I would my own 2 hands. But what happened at the end of this novel nearly brought me to tears. Art published a photo of his father during the war in the book. Now I'm going to blur this photo in the hopes that you read this book and experience it for yourself. But to see what this man really looked like after this long journey of pain and torment made me realize that this is actually all real. This did actually happen. And that if the world doesn't change, his pain could be felt again by countless other people. I first experienced this book last year in my English literature class, not to flex, I was totally one of the super smart kids. Even though I thoroughly enjoyed it, I was only able to get a 20 out of 25. But while we were reading and discussing the book in my class, a girl said that one of her ex-boyfriends did not believe that the Holocaust was real. This chick had the audacity to date someone that openly said that and did not break up with them for that reason. And that made me realize why this book is so important, why it's better than any other movie out there, and that's because it's real. Put aside the fact that it's the only book I've ever seen my dad read in the 18 years that I've been alive, and the fact that it's the only graphic novel that has ever won a Pulitzer Prize. And what you have is a truly raw and authentic story down to its very core. So please, if you took one thing out of this video today, just read the damn book. Hello everyone, this is post-production, me here. This is my first ever video that I've uploaded to this channel. You know, of course I've had videos on other channels before. I mean, I was a kid growing up in the I was a kid born in the early 2000s, and who was a kid in that generation that didn't want to be a YouTuber. So yeah, I'm going to try and get in the game and talk about something I really like, which is comics. So if you have any suggestions at all, please leave them in the comments, and I'll try my best to reply to all of yous. Yeah, thanks for watching the video. If you watched this far, like and subscribe, I guess, or dislike and not subscribe. I don't really care regardless. I'm gonna try and keep making videos. So yeah, that's all from me. Bye.